welcome back to episode 13 of Division Therapy. 13, a very unlucky number. So we're going to see how this podcast goes. I'm sure very
Starting off
unhinged.
with bad vibes already. Damn. Damn. Cursing our pod.
Well, it's the number 13. Things
It's not
could get-
unlucky for the Mets right now.
That's true. That's
Heyo.
true. A sweep of a good team? Are we calling the Tigers a good team?
We'll call them
Sorta, maybe. Like, I don't know.
A very
Like-
hurt pitching staff. We did not
Yep.
face their best, that's for sure. We faced one of their best. Their current best, I'd say.
That's true.
But yeah, let's jump right in. Mets sweep the Tigers at home. Really awesome feeling. Honestly, day by day, game by game, cannot look ahead. Can't be like the Mets are back because they're not. It's one series. We'll see if they can continue it, but great to win baseball games. They haven't done that in a while. So Monday night we recorded the podcast. The entire NL East was off, which was so nice,
yeah.
honestly, like to
It was,
be able
yeah.
to like really dive in. And on the podcast, you might have heard that I said, let the kids play.
Yep.
Bring up Ewing, bring up Morabito, enough with the Tommy Phams, the Ibanezes, and David Stearns must have been listening to our podcast while
Must
we were
have.
recording, because
He must
right
have.
after we were recording, my phone was blowing up with messages and notifications. AJ Ewing is being called up by the Mets. And
Absolutely.
listen, like, this guy had basically no time at AAA, but what they saw at AAA was good enough to be called up. So first game, let's jump right in. Freddie Peralta, man. Whoo! This guy is a roller coaster of emotions when he pitches. 48 pitches through two. I'm like, okay, here we go. Like,
Jeez. Okay.
5 innings, 4 2/3. Not going to be great. And so I was worried that he wasn't going to go deep into the game. But, man, he shut me up. To his credit, 89 pitches through 5 and just 11 pitches to get through the 6th inning. He pitched 6 innings, which, if you would have told me he was 48 pitches through 2, I would have said there's no way he's getting through 6. But honestly, like, that 6th inning, he just absolutely just crushed it. 11 pitches, 2 strikeouts, just such a gutsy performance from Peralta, honestly. And
Absolutely.
he was backed up by the Mets offense because they scored 10 runs.
Yeah,
10
damn.
runs.
Yeah, breaking out, scoring. Hey, listen, I'm like, you're scoring a lot more than the Phillies, for instance, right now.
Yeah.
Phillies have one of the worst run differentials in baseball. So
I mean, they
I'm like,
scored-
that's a lot more runs than a lot of
Yeah.
the other teams are scoring in this division right now.
Mets scored 5 total runs against Arizona in that 3-game stretch, come home and score 10 runs. And a lot
Yep.
of it has to do with AJ Ewing. What an incredible debut. 3 walks, stolen base, runs scored. I mean, he was just absolutely electric. Like, this is everything that the Mets have needed in one game. They needed a shot of something in the arm because they looked absolutely dead, lifeless, and he brought it. He brought it. Ben's just keeping up his really good streak. So the kids are just crushing it right now. And the crowd was going nuts. Mets fans have been so disappointed this year. They have wanted anything to celebrate. And honestly surprised that it was packed on a Tuesday night when they've sucked so much. But the energy was electric. People were standing ovation for AJ Ewing first at bat, and then it just kept getting louder and louder throughout the night. It was really cool. And honestly, like, something that I love to see from a young guy is working the count in his first at bat. How many times do
Three
we?
walks is impressive, man.
Yeah.
To come up, MLB debut, you got the jitters, and taking those pitches, not swinging, not trying to be aggressive and press anybody, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. I like to see that.
how many
Maturity's great.
times do you see like a guy in his first ever at bat strike out on 3 or 4 pitches? Like, it happens all the time. Or
Absolutely.
he grounds out on the first pitch. Like, they're over eager. He took some really tough pitches in that first at bat. Flaherty was walking everyone, but he took some really, really tough pitches. And, of course, it's the Mets. When one good thing happens, one bad thing must happen. And Francisco Alvarez came out of the game. Something about he had a swing and his foot kind of slipped. Knew it was bad from the start. Comes out after the game, torn meniscus. He's out 8 weeks. And he has been really underwhelming so far. So I'm not going to go as far to say that it's addition by subtraction, because even in that game alone, he pissed me off with some of these ABS challenges that I've been ranting about for, the
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
season. Like, this
I
guy
will
is
I,
just.
will- I will say that the clip that we posted, it was kind of funny. There was a couple people in the comments kind of calling you out, saying that that was more Francisco Alvarez's fault as opposed to Mendy's fault, that
Listen,
he's making those decisions.
I totally disagree. As a manager, you have to pull your guys aside or have a meeting with the team. Like, this is a team challenge. How many times the broadcast says it all the time? They are like
Yeah.
flabbergasted by the non-crucial situations that these people, tend to call challenges. And it's like, no, it is the manager's responsibility to make sure that they know that, because there have been plenty of times, countless times, where the Mets have needed one in the eighth inning and they're out of challenges. Like, it's just bad to challenge in the second inning.
Yeah, I'm like, here's what I would say. I would definitely say that if they were given a couple more seconds, right? And there's been a lot of drama. I don't know if you saw, God, what game was it? There was a game recently. I think it was maybe the Reds game or the Pirates game
Mm-hmm.
where it was like, MLB umpires are really kind of towing this line between the seconds and the tapping. No, it was what you sent me
Yeah,
yesterday.
yeah.
Sorry,
We'll
what
talk.
you
We'll
sent me.
talk about it. We'll get into it.
Yeah, yeah. But it's just like
Yeah.
the line, and it's like if they had a couple more seconds where they could literally look at Mendy and Mendy goes yes, and then obviously they can't do that, then I would be more on the side of challenges are truly, and yes, obviously there's strategies before the game,
Mm-hmm.
but I do really think for the most part, these challenges are truly on the players, and the managers will say, hey, let's be smart about it. Let's use it in high leverage situations. But then again, as we know, with some of with some of the Mets players like Francisco Alvarez or Mark Vientos or whoever it may be, guys with those bigger
There's
egos,
some ego involved.
yeah, they're probably not necessarily going to listen to those strategies and
And it's
believe
not
that
even
their strategy
actually.
is the best.
We've said ego in the past. I don't even know if ego is like a proper term to use. It's emotion. Like,
Yeah,
you're in the heat of the at bat. Of course, you want every pitch, and you are going to think one way when it's actually the other. And so, yeah, I think these guys are just get kind of emotional in these at bats and then use them. But yeah, so huge win for the Mets, 10-2. Second game, man, this was a weird game. There was so
hmm
much action and so much to talk about in this game that ended 3-2.
yeah,
Not really sure what they're doing with Christian Scott. And maybe it's not what they're doing with Christian Scott, but what his role is. I was really excited by Scott when he first came up. Obviously, he had a big injury, out for the season. He's back now, but he's no youngster. He's 28 years old. So, it feels like this is a big year to either take a step forward or for the Mets to reevaluate and say, okay, where does this guy fit in? And
yeah.
I don't know. It's like he just hasn't really been able to take that step forward. 7 hits, 2 walks, 4 2/3. It's not like Mendy really pulled him too early. He was at about 89 pitches, so it's like, I don't know what else Mendy could have done. I'm probably not leaving him in for 100 pitches. He looked like he was slowing down. So I don't know where he ends up. He seems like maybe like a middle relief guy at this point, because
Okay.
7 hits and 4 2/3 just isn't good enough. Like.
Yeah, I'm like he is definitely potentially obviously kind of different stuff, but kind of that Grant Holmes where it's like
Mhm.
it does kind of feel like Mendy wants to send him out here or wants to be in the rotation because he can get through 5, but it's like if he does just have the opportunity to go those 1 or 2 innings, he does have the opportunity to obviously be significantly potentially more effective. That he doesn't feel like he needs to kind of, not have those high leverage pitches, every single and kind of make those pitches, so I don't really know.
Yeah, but with that being said, the bullpen was
Yep.
unreal. It
Yeah,
was
that looks
unreal. Other
great.
than
Yep.
a few walks here and there, they gave up 1 hit collectively for the rest of the game. And Oscar Brazaban, who Mets fans have thrown fits about, myself included, because this guy last year, the year before, was just so up and down, couldn't throw strikes. This guy is locked in right now. Like, he is so locked in. 7 outs from a bullpen guy in one game. is just like
Yeah, that's great.
incredible in a
Yeah.
game where it's not a blowout one way or the other. Like these are crucial outs. So that was amazing to see. And then Luke Weaver, man, this guy scares me on the mound sometimes. His control is just I see what Yankees fans were talking about when we got him in the offseason, and they're like, enjoy Luke Weaver. And
Hmm.
yeah, I see it sometimes.
Yeah.
And then we got to get into the Junior Valentine of it all because man, this guy just made it such an show at one point. Like he calls, like you were alluding to earlier. So Beatty, who touches his helmet all the time, just like adjusts it, like before this season and this season. He goes to like adjust his helmet, maybe, or he was thinking about the ABS, and he never touched his helmet. But Junior Valentine says he touches his helmet, and they use the challenge. And see, this one I can't put on Beatty because I would have challenged the pitch as well. Or I mean, he didn't challenge the pitch, so like but he got charged for one, so I can't put
Right.
it on Beatty. That's on Junior Valentine for being an idiot.
Yeah.
Just like a terrible look. Like there has to be accountability from these umpires. Like, how do you miss somebody tapping their helmet? Like it makes a sound, you hear it, you see it. Like there has to be some type of accountability. And then there was a whole thing with Dylan Dingler later on in the game. He got a pitch clock violation because he didn't engage Luke Weaver at the 8-second mark. And it's like, dude, it hit 8 seconds on the dot, and Junior Valentine was ready to just like, call a strike. And then there was a whole thing with the on deck circle. He was yelling at the bat boy. He was yelling at the on deck hitter Riley Green. Like it was just like this guy must have had a hot date or
Wife must
something.
have cheated. My
Like a
wife
wife
must have
or something.
cheated on him or
Yeah,
something.
it's like
I
he's
don't
having
know.
a rough day.
Tough
Or he
day.
told his
Tough
boys to
day.
check him out at the game. He's in New York. He thinks, maybe he has CTE from that throw from Edmundo Sosa. You remember that when Edmundo Sosa threw the ball, it hit the guy in the ear. That was Junior
Ugh,
Valentine, and
God.
that was at Citi Field. So maybe he's just got demons that he's fighting. But honestly, man, this guy feels like the new Angel Hernandez because not only did he make it all about himself, he called a shit game.
Yeah.
He called a bad game objectively. Like, and then the Mets were out of challenges because of the Beatty no ABS, no helmet touch thing. And so it just took away from the game, man. It was really disappointing to see. But let's get to the fun stuff. Let the
Yeah.
kids play.
Yeah.
Play the kids.
Absolutely.
Play
Yeah.
the kids. Walk off hit from bench. Scored with Ewing because he was the Manfred man on in the 10th inning.
Mhm.
And this is what David Stearns is all about. These slap hitters, outfielders that play great defense, are speedy, can hit the ball through the middle. I mean, this is what he wants.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't want the true outcome guy of Okamoto. There are so many people that I talk to right now that are like, "Oh, there were so many better first basemen, Okamoto, Murakami." It's like, okay, one, where were you, during the offseason saying this? You're only saying it now because he's at the 110th percentile of his success. Like
Yeah.
they're both crushing. And then second of all, these are guys that David Stearns just does not want. Like he wants these Milwaukee type players, like
Absolutely.
it just is what
And
it
and
is.
honestly, you Mets fans can say all they want about paying even more people, but let's be honest, those big contracts haven't necessarily fully panned out as far as Bichette
No.
and Semien is concerned. And obviously, they're slowly kind of starting, maybe
And
Bichette
Polanco
more than
too.
Semien.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I honestly think that similar to the Braves and some prospects coming up, if it's J.R. Ritchie figuring it out right now, or if it's Drake Baldwin, Rookie of the Year last
Right.
year, in organization prospects have sometimes the greatest potential. It's the faith you put, it's building them up, and it's the ability to come up, and they're playing for you, man. They haven't gotten paid, so
Hmm.
it obviously there's nothing wrong with throwing money at the wall, but I don't think that there's any other solution currently than just working with these prospects, letting the kids play, and clearly it's working out. I'm
That's
like,
that's a
it's
great
yeah,
point. And a big thing earlier in the year that Mets fans called Mendy out about on is benching Benj against a lefty when he's red hot. And to
yeah.
his credit, he didn't bench Ewing or Benj against the lefty in Framber Valdez. So, you know, obviously they don't love Tyrone Taylor.
No,
It's pretty
no, no,
clear,
no
and
one
they
likes
want
Tyrone Taylor.
yeah.
He's had a couple defensive plays in the outfield, but that's been about it for
Right.
him.
And
So
so, yeah. And then there's a bunch of casuals on Twitter talking about Epler this, Billy Epler draft, Billy Epler drafted all these guys. And it's like, all right, you're telling me how much you know about local scouting. Like Epler is not, in the
yeah.
Dominican Republic scouting these 16-year-olds or in, Spokane, Washington or wherever, just like, watching ball. Like he's letting his local scouts do their job. And obviously he's, the final boss to get through in drafting them. But it's because of the guys that Stearns has put in
If
place.
you think the head of scouting for the New York Mets is in the Dominican Republic watching 15-year-old or 16-year-olds play baseball, you've lost
No.
your mind. The Mets
Well, the
scouting,
head of scouting, yes, but president of baseball operations now.
yeah, and just in general, I'm like, obviously, but the scouting obviously is also significantly bigger than we understand, and obviously these
Of
scouting
course.
departments are quite huge.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, obviously that's not their
And
fault.
then
So
once again, we got to talk, the good with the bad with the Mets. Mets won, but man, Soto came out of the game after he fouled the pitch off his foot,
yeah,
and so
but it was negative,
it
so it's
was.
good
But
news. Yeah,
man, I was holding my breath. I
yeah,
was holding my breath until that press conference, and I was good. It was good to see him back in the lineup for Game 3. Game 3. Man, Nolan McClain gave up a huge 3-run homer in the first inning, and we were like, all right, here we go.
yeah.
It was
Like,
nice to get a
yeah.
series win, but I guess the sweep is too much to ask for. The energy just got absolutely sucked out of the building. Nope. AJ Ewing, first big league home run. Welcome to the show, buddy. Pumped some
Yep.
life back into the stands. Beatty home run had to be reviewed, but ultimately it got over that orange line. 2-run homer, tie game, and man. Side note, Kevin McGonigal, I know you chose him for your rookie of the year. His defense is incredible. He made
Yeah,
about
yeah.
I mean, I think you guys played the Tigers too. It's
Yeah,
like
we did. He was like, yeah, he looked great out there. I'm like,
third
and
base,
obviously
shortstop.
he's really hitting for average as well. There's been a slight regression as the season's kind of grown into, but I'm like, yeah, defensively, I'm like
He's
he will most certainly win a couple Gold Gloves in his time. That's for sure.
definitely.
Yeah,
And yeah, once again with the small ball like I was talking about to break the tie in the 6th inning. Bench single, Soto RBI hit. Or bench single, steal, Soto RBI hit. So it's nice to see Soto come through. He hasn't really been doing that for the Mets since his contract started, other than, there's a few moments that I could point to. And then everyone, it was like the Oprah meme. You get a home run, and you get a home run, and you get a home run. Vientos
yeah,
home run, Soto home run, Simeon home run. So it was just, ball was flying out in Citi Field for the Mets. Unbelievable series. Really, really great. Still, they're in last place. So, not too much you could really hope for. But they have a big series this weekend against the Yankees, and if they can get something going there, we'll see. But
yeah.
huge,
It's
huge sweep.
definitely gonna be fun to see this Yankees series. And is it at City Field or is it
Citi Field, yeah,
City Field? Okay, sounds good.
yeah,
We'll see, man. I'm like, obviously, I am also not expecting a series win, and I don't think you are either. But
no,
it's gonna be fun. They have some momentum now off of this sweep, and hopefully the kids can continue to play, and we can see a good series. I think everyone just always hopes for a good Subway series, so we're
definitely.
definitely we're definitely hoping for that, and hopefully the Mets bring it home. Okay. So let's talk about the Braves. The Braves, the first team to 30 wins in the majors. People are like they're below 500 merchants. They're not playing good enough teams. We go into LA, we win the series. Oh, the Cubs, Major League Baseball keeps ranking them number one in their power rankings, which is insane because they lost that series in Texas. And I was like, how are you ranking them? Made no sense. I was very confused by that, but whatever. They are still, for the most part, have been one of the better teams in baseball. They come into Atlanta, offense completely quiet, even except for tonight. We're in the 8th inning right now, and Ian Happ just hit a home run to go up 2-0. So they might pull one back to end the series here. But listen, man, we're this team is for real. There's I don't really think there's anything else the Braves currently need to prove other than the fact that they are the best team in baseball. The pitching, the bullpen, the back in the bullpen is the best in baseball. And especially when the Stars are struggling, which they actually have in this series. Olsen's gotten a single here and there, but, Ozzy has struggled a little bit in the series. Austin has not been super great other than a home run in the series. So, but the good news, Mike Yastrzemski finally found it in this series.
We
This
were
is the Mike.
talking shit about him last
I know.
episode.
I know Mike Yastrzemski found it in game one, a day that Braves fans are truly, waiting for. He had two at bats and he had two hits, a single and a dinger, which was truly all the Braves needed to really kind of go up in this game. And Holmes is, something that we really need to talk about here because he has been the worst in the rotation. He has been incredibly wild. The good news is that even though he went four and, it was kind of weird, this Cubs offense really, really struggled. I'm like, listen, even though they're winning 2-0 in this game right now, they really have not scored that many runs. They scored one in game two in the first game, so that's three. So that's only five total runs
Yeah.
in this series. So
They have a
they're
good
not really,
offense though. It's that's
yeah,
I
yeah,
think it's just they're facing some really good pitchers. Holmes aside, obviously.
yeah.
Dude,
But
I
yeah.
picked up Holmes for one of my fantasy teams, and I was like, "Oh man, Braves, easy
Oh man,
win."
why'd you do
Like,
that? I could have told you not to do that.
yeah, it
He's
was a
not had a very good
mistake.
year.
I know, but I saw a 2-start week against the Cubs, and I was like, "Oh, maybe he can squeeze out a win." The Braves been winning a lot, but no, the walks are a
Well, we
big
did, we
issue for
did,
him.
we did win. It's
You
just,
did, but he
it
just couldn't
wasn't.
go five, which
Yeah,
is
it wasn't his. And I gotta quickly say, it's honestly really sad to see how bad Dansby is right now. Dansby just looks like a shell of his former self, man. And yes, he did have a 2020 season last year, and obviously he still has more than enough time to make it to that 2020 mark. But man, I'm like, it just truly, other than defensively, which he's looked incredible in this series, but he's always been an
yeah.
incredible defensive shortstop. Offensive wise, it's looked really brutal. And the bases were loaded and he had a really big opportunity and he ended up grounding out, which kind of saved Holmes and only let him give up one run. But the conversation that I'm trying to have here is clearly Didier Fuentes should be the one to replace Holmes and they should do a little switcheroo. So one
Mm.
for one switcheroo. I think clearly Didier Fuentes is ready to come back into this rotation. He has had multiple opportunities out of the bullpen, another three kind of stellar innings from him. The fastball has looked really, really good from him. So I don't know, man.
So
Like,
yeah, I know Holmes hasn't been great, but do you not think like if it's not broke, don't fix it for
um,
Fuentes?
I no, I honestly think that with the amount of games that we've won,
Hmm.
we have the ability to
You
kind
have
of
the
experiment.
luxury, yeah, that's true.
Because I feel like it's kind of on both ends of the spectrum. You
Yep.
know what I mean? If you're one of the worst teams in baseball and already not playing for much, you have the ability to experiment, see where things are, make some changes, see what fits best, and then hopefully, once you do know what fits best, you can make the changes. Or if you've won so much and you've won yet again another series, your first team to 30 wins,
Yeah.
for example, this game, like, yes, obviously I would like us to win. We still have the bottom of the eighth and bottom of the ninth, hopefully to come back. You know what I mean? But if we lose this, we're still 30-14. You know what I mean? We have a 9-game
It's one
lead in
game.
the
It's
division.
one game. Yeah.
Exactly. And when we consistently are winning these series, we have the ability to kind of make these changes. So I do think that we should continue, and we can do this. I'm like, it's not that big of a shift. Grant Holmes has been very clear that he's willing to do whatever it takes for this team.
Mhm.
So if he makes that switch, we see a Didier Fuentes start, and then we see how things are. And listen, if it ends up being the same thing, he gets to the fourth inning and he struggles a little bit, then hey, I don't know. Maybe it's 3 innings for Didier, 3 innings for Grant. We kind of
Right.
do
Do like a
that.
piggyback
Yeah,
type
yeah,
situation.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. So clearly, there's an option here, and that's what they did. It was 4 for Grant and 3 for Didier Fuentes. You know what I mean? And listen, it's pretty easy to win baseball games where the offense can truly come from anywhere with Yaz, kind of making it happen. And listen, I'm like, this bullpen is nails, man. I'm
Mhm.
like, with Suarez, with Lee, with Iglesias, I'm like, it is just every single night that they get the opportunity to win these baseball games. They are. Like, they are, man. They haven't blown a save yet. I'm sure they will blow. I got some wood here, but like, they haven't yet.
Yeah.
So it's been great in that game one win, and then game two, man. It was a pitcher's duel. It was 0-0. Then Drake Baldwin hit a home run that was almost at his feet to right
I
center.
saw that. Yeah,
He hit that like was like 4-4. Like I don't
he's
know how he does that.
impressive. He's
I
so
don't know how
impressive.
lefty too. I'm like that just like natural pop from Drake Baldwin is just truly
He
insane,
had been
man.
struggling a little bit up until that point.
Yeah, he's had a tiny bit of regression. I definitely think that I don't know if he's the biggest fan of hitting in the leadoff spot.
Mm.
I definitely think that Mauricio Dubon up in the leader spot, leaders is potentially a better option, but I don't know, man. Like I think Walt Weiss is trying to figure it out, but even if he does have one game, Drake is still getting a hit, getting a home run, providing that RBI, and
Yeah.
obviously being great behind the plate. So I do think that overarchingly Olsen is probably going to be more consistent as we know him to be for the whole year, but I still think Drake is easily still going to have that 850 OPS. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
not 900, but 850 to maybe a
See,
low eight.
875. Yeah, I
Yeah.
could see him
So
finishing with the second highest OPS of catchers.
yeah, probably behind Liam Hicks, who continues
No, it'll be
who
Ben
continues to
Rice. It'll
rank.
be Ben Rice.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, obviously Liam Hicks continues to
He'll
rank.
come back down to earth, Liam Hicks.
But yeah, I'm sure. But yeah, so 1-1 game. I feel like Weiss really learned from his mistake. Obviously, game two was J.R. Ritchie's start, and J.R. Ritchie, who continues to kind of battle the walk. The walk has kind of been his main struggle. What I will say is that for the most part, he can battle himself out of situations. But it was 4 1/3, and he'd walked a couple guys, and I'd kind of provided that feedback in Seattle, where it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is where we need to make that change. This is where we need to bring in Kinley. And even though Kinley did, when they brought him in, did give up a single to make it 1-1, he still did get out of it, and then the bullpen held it down for the rest of the game. Yaz once again drives in a double, and then Dubon, man. Dubon gets an inside curveball, just a true hanger from Maton. Maton, had a had a very vibrant reaction when he threw that pitch because he knew that was one of the worst pitches
Yeah,
he'd probably
that was
thrown in
tough.
recent outings. But listen, Dubon took advantage of it, and I genuinely still cannot believe that that was a 1-for-1 trade. Nick Allen and Dubon. I still cannot believe that. That is just insane. I still have no idea how AA pulled that off. And listen, Dubon could have come over and been terrible. I understand. Like maybe at the moment Astros truly felt like that was a 1-for-1, but
Mm-hmm.
now obviously it has worked out significantly better than us then expected. And as I've said, game 3 is still currently working. It's one out in the bottom of the 8th. The offense has really been quiet tonight, so I don't know. It doesn't really seem like we're going to win this one. Obviously, we've definitely come back and had some magic in the bottom of the 8th and bottom of the 9th. And listen, it's only 2-0 lead for the Cubs, but
Chris Sale looked
yeah,
good
Chris
again,
Sale looked great. 7
and yet
strikeouts.
he's not even top 3 in Cy Young voting, probably.
Yeah. So, but 7 strikeouts for Chris Sale. He looked great, man. It's just the offense has been a little quiet tonight, not really produced for him. But listen, those stats looks great, and at the end of the day, for Chris, whatever happens, he's going to do his best to provide for the team. So yeah, we'll see. I don't know. We have
We'll
it
update.
here.
Yeah, we'll update as
We'll update if they potentially come back. Okay, so let's move on. Let's move forward into the rest of the NL East, starting with the Marlins. And that first game for the Marlins was absolutely brutal offensively. Bailey Uber, who obviously has been a really great starter for. That is a single, double, single, single.
Distracted. I'll take Bailey. You were gonna say Bailey Ober's been a great pitcher for the Twins.
I'm like for the most part
I don't know.
he's had but yes, he tossed to Maddox 89 pitches, first Maddox for the Twins since 2017. Listen, two measly hit for the Marlins. It was really bad offensively. And what sucks is that we've talked about Yuri Perez. We've talked
lot.
about the fact that we
lot.
want to see that improvement for him, and he showed that improvement. He had a great start. It was a quality start. He did give up 3 runs. It was on a steal of home and then a 2-run home run from Ryan Jeffers. But
He took a no hitter into the bottom of the 5th. Like he looked.
Yeah,
He
Yeah,
looked good.
he looked good. So 8 strikeouts for him. It was a great start, but it just truly was just terrible offensively. So unfortunately, he didn't get that backup. But hopefully, that that start can provide some kind of more confidence for Yuri Perez because that is clearly needed on his end. Then we have game two, where the Marlins did bounce back and get a 9-5 win. Buxton went yard off of Meyer twice. It was a very
So
kind of
good.
up and down game for Max Meyer. He did go 5 2/3 and did have 9 strikeouts, but he gave up 7 hits and walked two.
Yeah, I
So
mean, I think it
it
kind
was
of goes
kind of all
back
over
to
the
a
place.
conversation that we had a few weeks ago of like, we don't think that Meyer is a 7 innings shutout guy. Like, this is
Yeah.
probably more in line with what he'll give you, is like hopefully close to 6 innings. 9 strikeouts is nice. I don't think he's gonna do 9 strikeouts every game, but he's pretty good. He's probably a three. He's probably a three. He's
Yeah,
probably nothing
yeah.
more than that.
Absolutely. And, when we look at, how this Marlins team ended up scoring their runs, you know what I mean? The Fish scored, Xavier Edwards was 2 for 3, double and a triple. Jimenez was 3 for 4 with a double, recorded his first 3-hit game as a Marlin. So that was really great to see. Liam Hicks collected a 12th multi RBI game, and once again, it still has it today as well. The RBI lead with 38 RBIs to lead Major League Baseball. So whilst I agree that there's definitely a potential for some regression, it's still pretty impressive to say, close to the middle of May, that he is still leading all of Major League Baseball in RBIs. I'm like, that's really impressive because there's some pretty impressive
Yeah.
hitters in this league. And then finally, John King had that scoreless streak snapped by an 8th inning dinger, but it was still little, too late, and the Marlins got that 9-5 win.
Right after a brief after a brief setting change, we are back.
Yeah, but yes. So game three, Braxton Garrett had his 2026 debut, and it did not go well. He
Another guy picked up on one of my fantasy teams. Just
Jeez,
awful.
dude, stop picking up these guys on your fantasy teams. Clearly not working out. So yeah, obviously he has previous major league experience. This is an MLB debut. This is 2026 debut. But he did escape a bases loaded jam in the first, and you're
It's
like, okay,
impressive.
yeah,
He
and it
walked
was
2 guys, gave up a hit, but struck out 3.
Yeah. So you were like, okay, great. Usually when guys do that, that usually kind of motivates them to kind of have a good start. Nope, that did not motivate him to have a good start. Had an absolutely terrible second inning, gave up 5 runs, and it just was not great. It was only, I think, 2 or 3 hits for the Marlins. So honestly, very similar to the first game. The offense went quiet. I think it was Zebby Matthews in the third game for the Twins. It was also his first start of the year for the Twins, and he looked great. So it was just kind of a tough series for the Marlins. They just really didn't. They just didn't really deliver offensively when they needed to. Obviously, other than that second game, but with the Phillies surging, and I definitely think some of the other teams starting to find their stride. I definitely have some concerns about the Marlins, and I definitely think that we're going to see some regression on their end. But yeah, how were things? I know they're. Are they in DC or are they in Cincinnati?
They're in
Where were they
Cincinnati. Yeah, they were in Cincinnati.
Okay.
Nats taking on the Reds. First game, Nats offensively exploded. Let's start with the starting pitcher, our favorite guy ever, Miles Michaelis.
Yep.
Super mid, 3 1/3, gave up a bunch of runs. Like, that is the Miles Michaelis experience that you're gonna get. Bullpen was able to hold it down though. This National offense is really, really good.
Yeah, when they get going, man, it's great.
They can hit. Luis Garcia 2 home runs, Abrams a couple of hits here and there, Wood with another home run. But the guy that we have to talk about is Daylen Lile, because he was on a lot of guys' radars coming into the season of like, okay, like this guy showed some promise, some prospect pedigree. Maybe he could take a step forward. And up until about like 1 week ago, he hadn't really taken a step forward, but in this game alone, 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, massive, massive game. And the last 10 games, including the last game of this series, 998 OPS over 10 games. So that is definitely something to pay attention to, because he could definitely be a staple in that lineup if he continues to do some of what he's doing. And yeah, the lineup, the team overall, 13 hits, 6 home runs, like that's going to win you baseball games if you can keep that up. So this lineup is definitely to be feared. And then the second game, another huge offensive output, 8 runs, another pitching performance from Jake Irvin that just is not good enough. ERA after the start is near 6. Oof. I don't think they really have anyone to fill his rotation spot. Also, like, I think Michaelis would get replaced first. But just, obviously not good enough, not going to win you many ball games, except it did in this one. It gave them, enough rope for the Nationals to kind of pile on. And that started with Daylen Lile.
Jeez, man. I'm like,
I know. Tell me if you just heard of this guy.
This guy's on fire,
3
man.
RBIs, home run, and the really big hit was the 2-run home run in the 10th inning to give them the lead. It was a wild, wild game, this one. It was 5 runs in the first from the Reds, and if you're a Nationals fan, you're a casual National fan, you're probably turning off the game because you're like, okay, there's got to be something else to watch, and my team get absolutely shellacked by the Reds. But then the Nats answer back in the second with 4 runs, so only down 1-1, and then it became 6-6 in the 5th, and stayed that way until extra innings, until that huge Daylen Lile home run, and the Nats almost had to go to the 11th because it was crazy. The Reds hit a home run, or so they thought. It was reviewed, and there was fan interference, and so it was overturned to a double, and they only scored 1 run as opposed to 2, and they lost the game 8-7. So just like a brutal way for the Reds to lose that game.
Yeah, jeez. Okay.
Fan interference it's always gonna come back to bite you. Never,
man. I just can't imagine being a fan in that situation. I'm like, the heckling, and obviously I don't think that heckling is particularly bad in Cincinnati. I haven't been to Cincinnati. I don't really know.
I'm sure
have you ever met a Reds fan? I don't really think. I don't know what the ballpark.
Yeah, I'm sure in passing I've met a Reds
ballpark situation is like in Cincinnati, but I feel like anywhere, kind of, especially in a home ballpark, you're definitely going to hear it. I don't know if you're going to go back to the ballpark anytime soon. And then, geez,
this Nationals offense was crazy until today because they lost.
And Foster Griffin, no.
Our boy, Foster Griffin.
Oh, my God. What
Reds
the heck?
15, Nationals 1. So just, their mind was elsewhere. They weren't ready for day baseball, whatever you want to call it. They did not show up. So forget everything I just said about the Nationals offense being so feared, because totally non-existent. 3 hits total for the game. And yes, like Liam said, our absolute boy, Foster Griffin, 9 earned runs given up, 7 strikeouts. So you like to see that. He was able to get some punch outs, but through 4 1/3, 9 earned runs, it looked like a Sandy Alcantara stat line, if we're being honest. Like a lot of runs.
Were they just out partying with Joe Burrow or something? I'm like, was Joe Burrow taking him out to the clubs in Cincy or something? Must have been, man. Jeez, that sucks.
And they wanted to save their bullpen, so they gave Joey Weimer an inning. He gave up 4 earned runs. We love a position player pitching on the pod, honestly.
Yeah,
I think it's so funny. We were watching the Mets game, and I was showing my girlfriend Emma, who was it? Eric Hinsky, maybe. The Tigers had a position player pitching in the first game, and I was like, does anything look unusual? And he's like, oh my God, why is he throwing so slow? So position player pitching, very funny. Not really much to say from this game, just really, really ugly. They ran into the buzzsaw that has been Chase Stearns this year. He's absolutely dominant, electric, ERA under 1 in May. And time to go home, play the Orioles. Big series win though. I want to get excited about the Mets sweeping, but then I see the Nats take 2, and I see the rest of the division kind of also do really well, and so it's great to see that the Mets are winning, but you're not making up any ground if these teams keep winning, and they do. So, and then on to the Phillies against Boston.
Yeah, Boston, this was an interesting series. Obviously, Boston has really struggled. Their offense has been really, and listen, this that kind of showed out. This has been a very couple low scoring games. Wheeler, they won the game 2-1, so very close game. Wheeler went 7 1/3 of 1 run baseball, and that 1 run came in the seventh. So, obviously Mattingly might have been pushing him a little far, but obviously he has a lot of confidence in Zach Wheeler.
He's so good.
He's definitely earned it. So has looked great. And what's crazy, he made history. I don't know if you saw this. He only needed 16 pitches to get through 3 innings.
Wow.
Yeah, like nuts. Like I was like,
Wow.
what? Like that. He's like the first pitcher to do that since like 2000. Like insane stuff. Like obviously, clearly, Red Sox pitchers were very aggressive, and I'm sure
Hmm.
Wheeler was thankful for that. But that is insane. And listen, all those hits were singles, so clearly a great outing. Schwarber hit his 17th home run in the season, and that makes it 5 straight games with a homer. So
Yeah.
he is just genuinely on
This is what we
another
were saying.
planet, man.
Yeah, this
It
is
is
what we were saying
insane.
the other day. It's like this guy could really carry the team for a week at a
And
time,
speaking
two
of and
weeks at a
speaking of
time.
Schwarber, obviously we'll talk about game two, but game three is currently in the bottom of the ninth. The Phillies got 1 out, so they're trying to close this out. Juan Duran's trying to close this out, but Kyle Schwarber once again his 18th home run of the year in the top of the eighth to make it 2-0. So I'm like, this guy just keeps doing
He's
it, man.
special. He's a
He
special
is
player.
he is truly an
Yeah.
incredible player. I don't say that lightly for Phillies players, but yeah, man, I'm like he is truly an incredible and truly awesome guy to have in the NL East to represent the NL East and clearly I hope that he's gonna participate or has to participate in the
Oh,
home
in the
run
home run
derby.
derby.
I'm like has
Yeah.
to. Right. I'm like, there's no way he's not going to
I
with
hope
it in
so.
Philly
I
this
hope
year.
the home run derby goes back to being like stars that play in
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. But something we need to talk about, obviously, the Phillies lost that second game 2-1, and the Phillies have a negative 33 run differential. Now, obviously, with
Nice.
these 3 runs scored today, and with the run rate, that's a negative 31, a negative 30 run differential. So I think that moves them up to like 25th or 24th. But still, I'm like, that's really bad. So they're
Hmm.
not scoring enough runs. And so if the offense is not delivering, which they haven't, and with that good pitching, obviously the offense is clearly letting the pitching down. So it was a three run loss. The only blemish for Painter was that Trevor Story home run, but then the only offense was that Crawford home run. So it was a loss. The Red Sox got back on the board with win. The celebration that the Red Sox have in the dugout with the mascot head, I think is creepy. I think
You
it's
don't like
weird.
it?
Yeah, I think it's strange. And then we just elaborated to another very low scoring game. Jesus Luzardo, who
My
is your favorite
boy.
favorite guy to talk about, finally had a good start. 6 innings, 4 hits given up, 4 strikeouts. So obviously nothing crazy, obviously, other than the 6 innings. But then Brad Keller had one, Alvarado had one, and obviously Duran is trying to close it out. He still has that 1 out. I think he just hit somebody. So Marcelo Mayer is up with a guy on to attempt to tie the ball game here. So this game is not over yet, but obviously
And a
we'll see here.
revenge game for he's gone by Ranger his whole career, but going into this year, he has now asked everyone to call him Ron Hair.
Oh,
So it's
oh.
Ron Hair Suarez. Revenge game for Ron Hair Suarez. 5 1/3, 4 hits, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. So great start from him. He's been really good this year. But yeah, the Phillies, they just keep kind of getting it done. I know the game's not over completely yet, but I have every expectation with Duran on the mound for them to seal this one and close it out. So, yeah, another series win for the Phillies. Good for them, I guess.
Yeah.
Whatever.
At the end of the day, I'm like, they are, all things considered, could be better if they would just score some more runs, man.
Yeah.
Give these pitchers a little bit more breathing room so it's not feeling like, every pitch is, crazy.
Right, you're not living and
Um,
dying. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, I feel like it's easy to see what your player of the series is, so why don't you let me know? But I feel like
Player
I
of the
know who it is.
series. I don't know. Who could it be? No, truthfully, it wasn't going to be anybody else, but I got to give his flowers to Nolan McLean, who
Hmm.
gave up 3 in the first inning. You think, oh my God, like this is going to be a disastrous start. He ends up getting through 7, like really gutsy innings as well. Like
Yeah.
he really had to like put his everything into all of his pitches. And you could see it because when he closed out that 7th inning, huge eruption of emotion from Nolan McLean. He was absolutely pumped, fired up. He had the lead. He was in line for the win. And so, hell of a performance. Not his best, obviously, but was able to work around some traffic on the bases and was able to get out of it. But no, my player of the week, my player of the series has to be AJ Ewing.
Has
I
to be.
mean, you could look at the box score and be like, wow, that was a great debut. But really, it's all about the energy. The Mets were dead in the water before this series, and they still might be. They really still might be. But that first game with AJ Ewing made me feel alive, gave me some optimism for the first time in weeks because the stadium was going crazy for this guy. This guy that probably most Mets fans maybe have never heard of before prior to Monday being called up. Like he's a, one of the top prospects, but not the top prospect in the Mets farm system. And so 2 for 4 in the first game, 0 for 3, but scores the winning run in the second game, and then his first home run in the third game. That's a pretty good way to start your career.
Absolutely.
And honestly, like I loved seeing they would pan to his dad all the time they interviewed him. He was so proud. It was, I love and it just feels like something that the Mets don't get often. It feels
Yeah.
like they always have a prospect and he comes up and he sucks for the first,
Yeah.
month. And he might suck for the next month. He might go over 20. Like that is part of just learning the game. Like him against Cam Schlittler tomorrow could be really, really tough.
Yeah.
But this series he looked like he belongs, and that's all you could really ask for. So yes, my somewhat obvious player of the series has to go to AJ Ewing.
And I'm excited. I'm excited for you, and I hope that he keeps it going. For me,
Phillies
it's
just
yes.
Phillies just locked
Yeah,
into
Phillies
that win, by
Phillies
the way.
Phillies won and Braves lost. So Braves weren't able to complete the sweep. But honestly, I was expecting the Cubs to at least get one game there. Because hearing that they're such a good team. They only beat us 2-0.
Yeah, but
So
they
the
are. I mean, they have
yeah
28
yeah
wins. Like they're
yeah
a
yeah
good team.
yeah, but I'm like they only beat us 2-0. So obviously the pitching is still great. I'm like
Really
it's
good.
it's good sign. We even got someone bottom of the ninth. So listen, we lost. It's okay. We're 30 and 14. We'll survive as of now. And but yeah, for player of the series, Yaz, easy. He finally had the series that we were looking for. It's not going to be consistent. He's going to be bad again next series, and hopefully, here and there. Clearly, he's not going anywhere. Clearly, we need him to provide that lefty bat because with Azakar, obviously not being in for righties and not really knowing the timetable for Ronald, having that lefty bat in, for Ronald in whatever situations, it's important. So he clearly can deliver sometimes and is definitely the player of the series for us. So obviously we talked about that it's going to be the Yankees. So what was your prediction? Do you think it will be a series win? Do you think Yankees are going to sweep? Do you think y'all will get a win out of it? What do you think is coming up for this upcoming series?
Um, I think it would be naive of me to say that it's not obvious that the Yankees are a much better team than the Mets right now. And that we're facing some of their best pitchers. So I will go with probably 1-2 is my guess. First game against Schlittler. I know Holmes is on the mound. Dude, it's a revenge game for so many of these Mets. Clay Holmes, Luke Weaver, Devin Williams, Juan Soto. And we remember how Juan Soto looked when he returned to the Bronx last year. He looked like a ghost. Like there was
Yeah.
something wrong with him. And so I'm excited to, the energy is going to be amazing in Citi Field. It's going to be hot this weekend, so the ball might be flying out. But really excited for Friday's game. Schlittler against Clay Holmes should be awesome. Saturday, Rodon. Don't really know what you're going to get from him. Still coming off of injury. Not sure who's going to pitch for the Mets yet. And then Sunday, you got Peralta against Weathers. Peralta, I'd love to see a really great start from Peralta in a high leverage game. So I'll go with 1-2. I don't feel super confident. But if you could get some of these Yankees guys out, maybe like their bullpen isn't amazing. So a very small amount of confidence.
Absolutely. We'll see. I hope that y'all at least get one out of
Hope
this.
so.
Like I definitely hope that we're at least going to see one out of this game. I think it's important for the confidence and just obviously to continue look good moving forward here. We face Boston. Obviously, just lost this series to the Phillies. And as we talked about, the Phillies have struggled to score runs, but clearly Boston is also struggling to score runs. So we'll see if we're the series where Boston breaks out. But Boston now has to face Spencer Strider. We're going to see, back at home for Spencer, see if he can continue to prove that he has it. Then Bryce Elder, I still have the confidence in Bryce every time he's going out that we're winning baseball games, because that's what we've been doing.
One of these days, he's gonna Foster Griffin you, dude. He is.
One of these days, and I'm sure he will. But until that point, I am full confidence right now. And right now, it's Grant Holmes for that final game.
I'm
It's
pitching him in my
interesting.
fantasy team.
Yeah, it's interesting that the game that we did lose was that Chris Sale game today, but Chris Sale pitched great. It's just the offense didn't score. So I expect a series win from this Boston team. This Boston team is really struggling to score runs.
Yeah.
And if you don't score runs
And
against
no
us,
Crochet and no Roman
yeah,
Anthony. Like they are
yeah,
they are hurting as a team.
yeah. So we'll see, but I expect a series win. And we'll get back with you. But okay, well, this has been episode 13. Thanks so much for joining. And any further things to say, Brett, before we sign off?
I'll say the fans love you, dude. 10,000 views on that
I
TikTok
know
of
that's
telling the
crazy.
Braves fans to chill out. I mean, they love Liam talking direct to them because Liam has his finger on the pulse of Braves fans. So
Oh, well, thank
yeah, it
you.
was good. It was good to see. It was good
I
to see.
appreciate it. I'll say that they love us. So yeah. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a good night.
Peace.